Today we're really getting into what makes learning work. How to get fluent, not just in language, but maybe anything.
Right. And we're using language acquisition as our model here.
Exactly. Our source is excerpts from Master American English, Daily Fluency Practice.
Sounds specific, but the principles are broad.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
We want to pull out those core ideas about learning quickly and deeply that are kind of hidden in this English practice material.
And show how you can apply them elsewhere.
Yeah. And believe it or not, it kicks off with a pretty unexpected celebrity moment.
Oh, intriguing.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The source throws us right into a conversation. It's this person, Emma, talking to Mark.
Okay.
She's like, guess what happened today? And Mark says, what? Tell me.
Standard opening. What's the big news?
Emma goes, I met a famous actor at the cafe near my house.
Oh, wow.
And wait for it, Tom Hanks.
No way. Really?
Yep. Just sitting there, having coffee and reading a book, like a normal person.
That's brilliant. So what happened?
She just went up, said hi. He apparently smiled, talked to her for about 5 minutes.
That's very cool.
And she got a photo. Mark's reaction is pretty much what you'd expect.
No way! That's unbelievable. I'm speechless.
Yeah, I can see why starting with something like that, a real-life conversation, as the source puts it, is so effective for learning.
How so?
Well, it's not just about lists of words, right? It's about context. It helps you, the learner, understand real-life conversations better.
You mean like hearing the flow and the surprise in their voices?
Exactly. You pick up on the intonation, the natural rhythm, the emotional stuff behind the words. It makes the language real, not just theoretical.
It gives it meaning right away.
Precisely. It sets the stage for actually understanding, not just memorizing.
And that emotional side seems key too. Emma says, it really made my day.
Which is understandable.
And Mark says, this story made my day too. Just hearing it.
Right. That connection. So does starting with something that has that kind of, emotional impact, does that help people stick with the harder parts of learning later on?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. That emotional hook, it's basically a memory aid.
Like, you remember things better if you felt something.
Definitely. Surprise, happiness, disbelief. Those feelings act like anchors for the information. Your brain just pays more attention when emotions are involved.
So starting with a good story isn't just fluff.
Not at all. It's smart pedagogy. It makes the abstract concrete, connects it to you personally. It creates that initial buy-in.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's look at the specific phrases the source pulls out from that story.
The vocabulary section, right?
Yeah, it highlights, no way, I'm speechless, and it made my day.
Common phrases, but very expressive.
And it gives definitions. No way. Used when you're very surprised or cannot believe something. Pretty straightforward. I'm speechless. When you're so surprised or amazed that one doesn't know what to say.
Captures that feeling perfectly.
And it made my day. Just when something small makes one very happy.
What's fascinating here, I think, is how these aren't just vocabulary items. They're like little linguistic nuggets.
Nuggets. How do you mean?
Well, they pack a big emotional punch, right? They give you instant insight into how people react, how they feel.
So understanding them isn't just about the dictionary definition.
Exactly. It's about getting the nuance, the cultural subtext almost. You have to grasp the feeling behind it, not just the literal words.
And that's important for any kind of deep understanding, not just language.
Totally. Think about interpreting data or understanding a historical event or even customer feedback. You need to get the underlying sentiment, the human reaction.
And the Tom Hanks story sets these phrases up perfectly. You hear, no way, and you know it's pure disbelief from Mark.
Right.
You hear, I'm speechless, and you feel his amazement.
You get it instantly.
And it made my day. Clearly shows that simple joy. The definition comes alive.
And that contextual learning, seeing it in action right after getting the definition, that's likely much more powerful than just memorizing a list, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, the source definitely seems to imply that. It makes the connection immediate.
Your brain isn't just storing a fact, it's building a network. The phrase, the feeling, the story, it all links together.
Makes it easier to remember and use later.
Much easier. It's more robust knowledge, like knowing why something happened in history, not just the date.
Okay, so building on that foundation, the source then outlines this very structured approach. A 4-part exercise system.
The methodology.
Yeah. Part 1 is listening practice. Part 2, vocabulary, which we just touched on.
Okay.
Part 3 is listen and answer practice. And part 4 is shadowing practice.
A multi-pronged approach.
And the stated goal is pretty ambitious.
Yep.
To train your brain to speak English fluently.
Right. So the important question becomes, what's the learning principle behind each of those parts? How does this apply more broadly?
Let's break it down. Part 1, listening. The source says focus on meaning to understand real-life conversations better.
Okay, fundamental comprehension. Before you can do anything else, you have to understand the core message. That applies everywhere. Business requirements, scientific papers, anything complex. First, grasp the meaning.
Makes sense. Then, part 2, vocabulary. Grasping meaning easily through explanations and examples.
Pretty standard teaching, but effective. Giving you the building blocks, the key terms you need.
But then part 3, listen and answer. This sounds more active. It's called interactive practice.
Interaction. Keyword.
And it specifically tells you to try to answer them out loud before I reveal the correct answers.
Okay, that's interesting. That's hitting on a really powerful learning technique, active recall.
Active recall.
Yeah, forcing your brain to retrieve the information, not just passively receive it again, like trying to remember a formula instead of just looking it up.
So it's harder, but it makes the memory stronger.
Much stronger. It's one of the best ways to really embed knowledge. And notice the source says, repeat this exercise every day until you can say the answers quickly and confidently.
Repetition again, but active repetition.
Exactly. To boost your speaking and listening skills, it's about building that retrieval strength, like quizzing yourself before an exam.
Okay. And the last part. Part 4, shadowing practice.
Shadowing.
Reading lines aloud after the speakers, focusing on rhythm and intonation.
Mimicry.
The goal is to sharpen your pronunciation and overall speaking abilities.
So this is about internalizing the natural flow, the sort of muscle memory of speaking.
Like a musician copying phrasing.
Precisely. Or maybe a coder typing out code to get the feel for the syntax and structure. It's about embedding the pattern through imitation.
So you've got comprehension, vocabulary building, active recall, and mimicry.
Pretty comprehensive system. And if we zoom out, what's the big principle here? The source hammers at home. Repetition is very important to become fluent in English.
Right, repetition keeps coming up.
But it's not just mindless repetition, is it? It's structured, it's varied. You're repeating the core material, but through different activities, listening, recalling, speaking, mimicking.
So the repetition hits different parts of your brain, maybe.
That's a good way to put it. It builds a more flexible, robust understanding. It's not just doing flashcards over and over. It's engaging with the material in multiple ways, repeatedly.
And the advice to watch this video many times and repeat the exercises, it reinforces that consistency is key.
Absolutely. Consistent, active, varied repetition. That seems to be the formula for mastery here, whether it's English or, frankly, any complex skill.
So let's bring this together. What did this mean for you, the listener, trying to learn something new?
Well, we've seen a few key things surface.
Like starting with something relatable, something with context. That Tom Hanks story wasn't just fun. It anchored the learning.
Right. The power of context and maybe a bit of emotional connection, then understanding the building blocks, the key terms or phrases, but seeing how they carry real meaning.
Those linguistic nuggets.
Exactly. And then the big one, that structured, multimodal practice. Listening, actively recalling, mimicking, and doing it repeatedly.
It's not just about passively absorbing information. You have to actively engage with it over and over in different ways.
That's the core message, I think. These techniques described for getting fluent in English, they're really universal learning principles.
So active listening to really get the meaning. Understanding the emotional or nuanced parts.
Right.
Using strategic repetition across different kinds of practice.
Especially active recall.
Yeah, forcing yourself to remember. These aren't just language tricks.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They apply whether you're trying to learn coding, understand history, master a musical instrument, get better at, financial analysis.
Anything complex requires these deeper strategies.
For true fluency, yes. Not just surface knowledge, but real usable understanding.
So maybe the final thought for you is this. What new skill or complex topic are you wrestling with right now?
And how could you maybe adapt some of these ideas, finding a compelling context, focusing on active recall, using varied repetition to help you reach that next level of fluency or deeper understanding?